Teenage Mutant Ninja Nurses, Teenage Mutant Ninja Nurses, Teenage Mutant Ninja Nurses, nurses on a half shell, turtle power. Wait, no, that's a different show. What's up, nerds? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I love to start you off with a song every chance I can because I'm a goof. It's the 15th day of November, 2023. It is dark and gloomy. It rained on and off last night. Stopped raining around 6 o'clock in the morning. My allergies and headache are in overload. So if you hear me sniffling, also Steve hates the rain. He hates the noise. So if you hear a lot of weird noise of running and meowing behind me, he had a bad night. It's Wednesday, so let's take a look at all the tabletop crowdfunding projects that are coming to an end this week and see if there's anything you might want to check out. And there's a few that I have posted links to that I think might be worth your time. Obviously, number one, we've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles re-release from our friends over at Palladium. Legion of Myth, Max and Heathen Dog did a huge 5-part interview with the creators and writers of this one. So I've posted the link down below. So if you want to hear Max and Heathen Dog and Kevin and all the other guys talk about the 2023-2024 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how it's changed, you know, what they want to do with it, why they chose to bring it back now, any question you might have had about it, they probably answered in their 5-part interview down below, except probably cut my question, which was, are you going to do Heroes Unlimited? Because, you know. Now, people are saying this is one of the most anticipated tabletop role-playing games of the year. It's going to be one of the best tabletop role-playing games of 2024. I think a lot of you are member baiting and nostalgia diving because a lot of the same people said at one point in time this was one of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing game was one of the worst RPGs of all time. Max has argued that with me, but I'm sure I remember reading on at least 2 lists of worst RPGs. At least some people thought this was a horrible one, and you know, whatever. I played a lot of Heroes Unlimited and Rifts, so we played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles some. It was okay. I mean, you know, the thing is, a lot of people are trying to be like, oh, this will get back to the dark, you know, serious Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before the cartoon ruined it, you know, closer to like The Last Ronin. And it's like, well, as great as a story as Last Ronin was, there was never anything dark and grim and serious about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, okay? From the very beginning, it was a parody of what was going on in the comic book world at the time. I mean, they fight a supervillain group called the Foot, which is a parody of the Hand from Marvel, okay? They're teenagers, mutants, because the X-Men were huge back then. They're ninjas because everything was ninjas back then. The whole original run is basically, you know, poking fun at the Frank Miller run on Daredevil and Batman and what was going on in the X-Men at the time and how suddenly everybody in comic books was a ninja and a mutant. And then they just decided to make them turtles because they were kind of like, what's the last thing you would ever expect to be a master of the martial arts? Well, you know, one of the slowest animals on earth. You know, so I mean, it was always sort of a silly thing. I mean, it was a great run. The original cartoon still cannot be beat. That theme song still stands in your head. The action figures are still some of the best. So much love. And you know my feelings about Palladium. I have a long-standing love-hate relationship with them. I love the stuff Palladium does. The amount of research, the amount of just stuff they pour in. No other company, I think, that I can recall, you know, does that much just pure, you know, actual research and then pure actual speculation. You know, when they do the cyborg section, they get into each and every cybernetic piece and how they work and how they speculate they would work, you know, the superpower list, on and on and on. I gush all the time about how I love the superpowers in Heroes Unlimited, that no matter what superhero role-playing game I'm playing, I always refer to the write-up of that power in Heroes Unlimited to see what information I could use. Because, you know, when they did Heroes Unlimited, they actually thought about, okay, how much ice powers would I need to do not only like, you know, ice blasts and ice cages, but the silly things that you would see ice characters do in the comic books. How much ice powers would I need to turn the swimming pool into an ice skating rink? How many ice powers would I need to cool somebody's drink? You know, same thing with flame powers. They completely covered everything you could possibly think about with flame powers, but then they also covered the silly stuff, like how much flame powers would I need to cook a turkey? And they're the only superhero role-playing game that actually covered that. So, you know, as much as I complain about the editing and the setup and whatever, the amount of research. So this could be exciting, or it could be a flop. It's definitely got nostalgia going for it. It's already met and succeeded its expected goals. It's $100 is the most popular pledge, which gives you print versions of both books. There is no PDFs available due to the license restrictions. I don't know what that is about it, but you can check again the multiple interviews and the multiple in-depth stuff Max and Heathen Dog have done on this. They're linked down below. Moving on. We've got this one from Otterak LLC, Adventurer Conqueror King System Imperial Imprint. $50 gets you the PDF of the 3 books. This is the one I chose not to back, and a lot of people gave me some slack of it. How dare you not back this? So this is the latest OGL OSR darling. Everybody's talking about how great this is going to be, and it covers everything you've ever wanted to talk about, you know, from micromanagement of one individual character and taking that character from 0 level all the way to 20th, to macro management of kingdom building, and all these things is covered in this book. And I was like, yeah, but I've already got books that have that, you know? So, but I think I'm alone on my island of not backing this. I know a lot of my tabletop role-playing game associates in the old school, of which we know I'm no longer a member, are backing this. Link down below. $50 gets you the PDF. If you want to check out the OGL OSR Game of the Year, Tabletop Darling of the Year, this might be it. We'll see how many awards it wins, I guess. Here's one everybody's excited about. Who remembers Grimtooth Traps? I do. Oh my God, I do. I know that lots of DMs threw those at us when we were playing, when these first came out. And whenever there was a new book, we would just go through to see which was the best trap, which was the silliest trap, which was the most fun trap, which was the most dangerous traps. We're good friends over at Goodman Games. Dungeon Crawl Classics have somehow gotten their hands on the entire run of Grimtooth Traps and done what they've done with a lot of the other classic stuff from the old days, regurgitated it, chopped it up, put it back together, and presented it in a much more edited, comprehensive manner, giving both the original write-ups plus all the variations of the write-ups, you know, like when Grimtooth Traps Revised came out, or Grimtooth Traps for 37th edition. You know, they find every variation of the theme, and then they present it all in one book. So here's the original, here's the update, here's the 5e conversion, and it's filled with Grimtooth Traps. And it's $47.99 shipping and handling, gets you the PDF and the print version of both books, and the rarely seen Grimtooth Traps adventure. That's right. There was a Grimtooth Traps dungeon that came out that a lot of people might not be aware of it, but there was a Grimtooth Traps. Grimtooth also had a sister. I don't know if anybody remember that when they were doing the Grimtooth lore, Grimtooth had a sister who showed up in the later books and kind of took over and presented some of the more, you know, like he was the hardcore deathy stuff, and she was the more like, let's do tricks instead of traps. So some of the later books got a little more ridiculous. And, you know, as you go through the books, like, you know, the traps got more ridiculous, more over, like, you know, mega Rube Goldberg levels of complexity. And you're like, well, yeah, that's cool, but who'd ever waste that much time to build that on the off chance it goes off once and catches 1 or 2 adventurers? That's like hundreds of thousands of gold pieces and hundreds of thousands of hours to put in this overly complex trap that might not even work because it's so complex, when you could have spent half the amount of time just digging a 10 by 10 pit, covering it with a rug, and maybe putting a gelatinous cube in the hallway. That, you know, I think that was the feeling a lot of us got towards the end of the run. But at the beginning, oh my God, everybody loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I feel the exact same way, DM Kurt. I don't know if it would stand up now, especially with the scrutiny that Palladium gets, but we'll see. Moving on, Scientific Barbarian, issue number 6. Did you know this existed? I didn't. I also didn't know there was 5 previous existence. If you love Thunder the Barbarian post-apocalyptic fantasy style gaming, this apparently exists and has existed for at least 6 issues. Where have you been? I didn't know about this, or did I? Have I ever mentioned this before? I don't remember. Well, actually, maybe I have mentioned it before. It feels like something I would have seen before. I love Thunder the Barbarian, right? I mean, that for me was like the classic fantasy sci-fi D&D cartoon. You know, if there is a D&D cartoon other than the D&D cartoon, Thunder the Barbarian I would rate in the top 5. Much like, you know, I rate Hawk the Slayer as like the D&D movie. Most people don't agree with me, but yeah. So there are 6 issues of this now. This is issue number 6. $17 is the most popular pledge. Gets you the PDF and the print version. It is a loving homage to Thunder the Barbarian. I know the guy who did the art. I've met him a couple times. He lives here in Ventura. And we've talked about Thunder. Maybe I can try and get him on the show one time if I ever find him again. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Then we've got from Posthuman Studios for Eclipse Phase. Eclipse Phase character options, $75 for PDF and print version. $75 for a book of skills, feats, and ways to change your character and life path. That seems a little outrageous, especially for such an obscure game like Eclipse Phase. Isn't Eclipse Phase a 5e inspired spacey game? Tries to be a little bit more hardcore space as opposed to, say, you know, the fantasy space of Spelljammer and Spelljammer ilk. I know the name, but yeah, $75 for basically life path and some random tables for things like, oh, my background is sailor, so I get a +1 to my. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that seems to be a little pricey. Moving on, from NDP Design, we have The Big Store, a con game. This is $10 for the PDF. This is a tabletop role-playing game inspired by things like The Sting, Ocean 11, and Leverage. Your characters are constant confidence tricksters running a game on a greedy mark. You make a living as movie-style con artists. In each section, you pull a job. Your target, the mark, has all the right qualities: rich, greedy, and villainous. Your characters will create false negatives. Modern day, you know, fiasco, thievy style. Some people have said, you know, the Leverage tabletop role-playing game was actually a lot better than they expected it, and they love the way the mechanics work. So who knows? This could be a thing. You know, maybe you're tired of fantasy and you want to right some wrongs in the real world, and you've watched, you know, Leverage or Reservoir Dogs or the Assassin game one too many times, and you're like, yeah, I want to play a game where a bunch of highly skilled individuals spend their life taking down these individuals. Sure, why not? From Geekstar Game, and it is $10 for the PDF. From Geekstar Games, we have the Gunbelt, a role-playing game. $25 is the most popular pledge for the PDF of the Quick Start and the core rulebook. This is an original Sinister system. It is dinosaurs and cowboys on an alien planet. You'll play as cowboys, aliens, and robots, all mounted on dinosaurs. Takes everything an American child in the 1950s thought it was cool, put it together, and you have the gun belt. On a planet, you're cowboy ranchers where you have trained dinosaurs, 6-shooters, Triceratops, Area 51. This sounds like my kind of role-playing game. It has all the things in it I absolutely love. It's amazing how many Old West and Weird West games are coming out lately. It's like, I guess Weird West goes through waves, you know, where everybody wants to do Old West and Weird West type games, and then years go by and nobody ever hears about it. And then there's like another rush of Old West, Weird West games, and then it sort of peters out. we have this, especially if you grew up here in the America, and especially if you grew up here in the the West Coast or the Central Coast. There is a ingrained fascination with the Old West and the Wild West and the mythical Wild West. I literally live in Ventura, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from Ojai and Castaic. And if you've ever saw the movie There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, that whole movie is about stuff that happened in Ojai. You can go to downtown Ventura and still see the ruins of when Ventura had a gold rush Chinatown. And you can see the archaeological excavations of when the settlers came in with the Ventura missionaries and chased out the Indian tribes. So, the Old West is ingrained in the mythology of, California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Ohio, which makes you think, well, Old West role-playing would be to the USA as medieval role-playing is to Europe. The Old West is our mythology, that in comic books. And yet nobody ever wants to play Old West. We all want to emulate that we grew up in England for some reason. I don't know why. All right, I'm going to get off my high horse because we have to move on to this week's episode of Man, What a Failure MÖRK BORG Turned Out to Be. Remember when this was Tabletop Role-Playing Game of the Year and we were all like, why? Oh my God, MÖRK BORG is going to change the industry. It's so dark and grim and heavy metal. Look at the art. Yeah, the art's cool, but it's all just Photoshop. It's a death metal, heavy metal, end of the world role-playing game where you literally have 3 days to play before your world dies. And now look at it. MÖRK BORG is turned into a joke. I mean, people are constantly making things like Duck Borg, Pirate Borg, and now we've got Christmas Borg. Deeply Dapper Gang brings us Grouse von Krepus. $30 is the most popular pledge. You get the PDF and the print version of the book. This is basically a Christmas Krampus-inspired adventure using MÖRK BORG. So if you want to add some winter nonsense, snowball fight rules, greeting cards, and the Krampus to the doom and gloom that is MÖRK BORG, you can deeply, seriously, grimly, post-apocalyptically, death metal-y buy this game for $30, which seems a little pricey for a joke on a joke on a joke on a game that, man, what a disappointment. And finally, because these guys can't go a week without telling you they're doing stuff, which is why they are my Chad Gable. Level Up 5e has put out a mega dungeon. This is called Vault of the Splintered Souls, a D&D mega dungeon for Level Up 5e and regular 5e. $10 gets you the PDF of the dungeon, but if you go for the physical backer, which I think is $30, you get a copy of the map. I would think a copy of the map for the dungeon would go without saying no matter what version I'd buy, because otherwise I'm going to have to cut and paste it out of your book, put it together, and then print it out so I have a map. No, I think every mega dungeon should do this. Well, every dungeon should have a map you can take out. But especially if it's a mega dungeon, this doesn't really look like a big mega dungeon if that's the entire thing. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 20 rooms, it's not really a mega dungeon, is it? I suppose what's in those 20 rooms, but I don't know. When does a dungeon become a mega dungeon? Is it the amount of rooms? Is it the amount of what's going on? Is it the idea that a mega dungeon is constantly changing and evolving while a normal dungeon isn't? That's a topic that we've gone through before and we'll go through again. Anyways, that's all the crowdfunding projects for this week. If any of these sound like something you want to support, head on over to your favorite crowdfunding site of choice and support them. My nominees for this week are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Adventure Conqueror King, System Imperial Imprint, Grimtooth Traps, Scientific Barbarian, and the Gunbelt. And I posted links to the interviews that Max and Heathen Dog from Legion of Myth did with the creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, I know, friends, we've speculated for years that Matt Liao of Legion of Myth is, in fact, a mutant spider monkey. And I think the fact that he has embraced this game and the idea of anthropomorphic mutant animals further proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Max Liao is, in fact, a spider monkey. Till next time, I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate me doing this every week, let me know. If you never want to hear me do this ever again, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to support me, please do take a moment to subscribe. We still could possibly hit 2,000 by the end of the year. Probably not, but I like to have a dream. And I'll talk to y'all later. Drive careful out there. It's raining. Teenage